Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought that was trash you were waving around.
The crowded boarding area went silent as torn paper fluttered to the ground between them. Claire didn't yell or grab for the pieces. She just stood very still, watching the woman's face shift from fake concern to something that looked almost like satisfaction. The woman, blonde, mid-40s, designer carry-on in hand, was already turning to the gate agent as if the matter was closed, as if destroying someone's ticket was just an unfortunate accident that required no real consequence. What she didn't know was that Claire Dawson had spent 15 years as a compliance officer for a major insurance firm, and she knew exactly how to document an incident that someone wanted to pretend never happened. Let me take you back 5 minutes. Claire had been waiting at gate C-24 at Dallas-Fort Worth Airport for 40 minutes, her phone pressed to her ear as she spoke quietly with her mother in Tulsa. The doctor said he's stable for now, but they want family there. I'm on the 6:15 flight. I'll be there by 8:30. Her father had had a stroke that morning. 73 years old, previously healthy, now in ICU. Claire had thrown clothes in a bag, called her boss, booked the first available flight, and rushed to the airport. She'd barely made it through security in time. Now she was third in line to board, Group 2, printed boarding pass in hand because her phone battery was at 7%, and she couldn't risk it dying before she got on the plane. The boarding pass showed her name clearly. Claire M. Dawson, seat 14A, Dallas to Tulsa, flight 2847. Behind her, a woman was speaking loudly on her phone. I don't care what the upgrade list says, I should be in first class. I fly this route every week. Well, then give me an aisle seat. I can't sit in the middle, I have a condition. No, I'm not explaining my medical history to you, just fix it. The woman ended the call with an angry jab and huffed loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear. Claire had glanced back once, saw an expensively dressed white woman with the kind of posture that said she was used to getting her way. Claire had turned back around, focusing on her phone as her mother continued talking. He's asking for you, sweetheart. He keeps saying your name. Claire's throat tightened. Tell him I'm coming. Tell him I'm on my way. That's when boarding was called. We'd like to welcome our first-class passengers and those needing extra time. Claire waited, phone still to her ear. Now boarding Group 2. Claire said goodbye to her mother, ended the call, and stepped forward with her boarding pass extended. The woman behind her moved at the same time. Excuse me, I need to board now, I have a connecting. The gate agent held up a hand. Ma'am, we're boarding Group 2. What's your group? I don't have time for this, I need to. Ma'am, I need to see your boarding pass. That's when the woman reached forward, ostensibly to show her own pass, and her hand hit Claire's. The boarding pass flew from Claire's fingers. And before Claire could react, the woman stepped on it. Oh no, I'm so sorry. She bent down to pick it up, and when she straightened, the pass was in two pieces, torn cleanly down the middle. I must have caught it with my shoe, how clumsy of me. The woman handed the torn pieces back to Claire, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. This is where things shifted. Claire looked at the torn boarding pass in her hands. The barcode was split. Her seat assignment was on one piece, her name on the other. The gate agent, a young man named Marcus, according to his name tag, looked between them with an expression of uncertainty. Ma'am, I can't scan that. You'll need to get a new boarding pass printed. She tore it, Claire said quietly, gesturing to the woman behind her. It was an accident, the woman said quickly. I already apologized. You stepped on it deliberately. I did no such thing. You dropped it and I tried to help. If anything, you should be thanking me for picking it up. Marcus looked uncomfortable. Ma'am, regardless of how it happened, I'll need you to step aside and get a new pass printed at the customer service desk. The customer service desk is on the other side of security, Claire said, keeping her voice level. By the time I get back, the flight will be gone. I'm sorry, but I can't accept a damaged boarding pass. This woman deliberately destroyed my boarding pass. I saw her do it. I did nothing of the sort. The woman's voice rose, indignant. Are you seriously accusing me of what, sabotaging you? Why would I do that? I don't know, but I watched you tear it. You're being ridiculous. Marcus, can we please continue boarding? This woman is holding up the line. Marcus hesitated. Ma'am, if you could just step to the side. I have a dying father in Tulsa, Claire said, and her voice finally cracked. I need to get on this plane. The woman behind her scoffed. Oh, please. Everyone has an emergency when they want special treatment. Claire turned to look at her fully for the first time. The woman was smirking. Actually smirking. And in that moment, Claire understood. This wasn't an accident. This was someone who'd been irritated about her boarding group, frustrated with the gate agent, looking for someone to take it out on. And Claire had been convenient. I'd like to file a complaint, Claire said to Marcus. You can do that after. No, now, before she boards this plane. Ma'am, you're holding up boarding. She destroyed my boarding pass. That's destruction of airline property. I want it documented before she's allowed to board. The woman laughed. Airline property, it's a piece of paper. It's my ticket, and you destroyed it. I apologized. What more do you want? I want you to take responsibility. For what, an accident? For what you did deliberately. Marcus was looking increasingly overwhelmed. Ladies, I need both of you to calm down. I am calm, Claire said. I'm also not boarding until this is documented. A voice came from behind them. I saw what happened. Everyone turned. An older black man in a business suit stepped forward. I was standing right here. I watched the whole thing. That woman, he pointed at the blonde woman, deliberately stepped on the boarding pass after it fell. Then she tore it when she picked it up. That's a lie, the woman said. I have no reason to lie, the man said calmly. I'm just telling you what I saw. Another voice, I saw it too. A younger white woman with a baby on her hip. She definitely tore it on purpose. I thought it was weird at the time. The blonde woman's face went red. This is insane. You people are ganging up on me. No one's ganging up on anyone, the older man said. We're just telling the truth. Marcus looked like he wanted to disappear. I'm going to call my supervisor. Good, Claire said. Please do. But that wasn't the moment that mattered most. The supervisor arrived 3 minutes later, a woman in her 50s with steel-gray hair and the no-nonsense demeanor of someone who'd seen every airport drama imaginable. Her name tag read Patricia Chen, lead gate supervisor. What's the situation? Marcus explained quickly, stammering through it. Patricia looked at Claire's torn boarding pass, looked at the blonde woman, looked at the two witnesses who were still standing nearby. Ma'am, she said to the blonde woman, did you tear this passenger's boarding pass? It was an accident. I've explained this multiple times. She dropped it. I stepped on it accidentally while trying to help and it tore. I apologized immediately. Patricia turned to the older man. Sir, you said you witnessed this. I did. It wasn't an accident. She stepped on the pass deliberately, then tore it when she picked it up. You could see it in her body language. It was intentional. That's your interpretation, the blonde woman snapped. You can't know what I intended. Patricia was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Ma'am, what's your name? Why does that matter? I need it for the incident report. There's no need for an incident report. This is absurd. Ma'am, your name. The woman's jaw tightened. Nicole Winters. Ms. Winters, I'm going to need to see your boarding pass. Why? Because I'm investigating an allegation that you deliberately destroyed another passenger's property. This is discrimination. You're taking her side because. She stopped herself, but everyone heard what she hadn't said. Patricia's expression didn't change. I'm taking witness statements seriously. Now your boarding pass, please. Nicole pulled it out and handed it over. Patricia scanned it on her device. You're in Group 4, Seat 27B, so you weren't even supposed to be in this line yet. I have a tight connection in Tulsa. I was trying to board early. That's not how boarding groups work. I know that, but I thought if I asked nicely. Instead, you got frustrated, and you took it out on this passenger. I did no such thing. Patricia turned to Claire. Ma'am, what's your name? Claire Dawson. Ms. Dawson, I'm going to reprint your boarding pass. Give me 1 moment. She pulled out a portable printer and scanned Claire's information. 30 seconds later, a fresh boarding pass emerged. Here you go. I'm putting you in Seat 3A, first class, no charge for your trouble. Thank you, Claire said quietly. As for you, Ms. Winters. This is outrageous. You're rewarding her for lying. I'm compensating a passenger whose property was damaged and whose travel was disrupted. And I'm filing an incident report about your behavior. My behavior? What about hers? She's the one making accusations. She's making allegations supported by multiple witnesses. Now, you can board when your group is called Group 4, or you can continue arguing and be denied boarding entirely. Your choice. Nicole looked like she wanted to explode, but she also clearly wanted to get on the plane. Fine, she bit out. I'll wait for my group. Patricia nodded. Ms. Dawson, you can board now. Claire took her new boarding pass and walked down the jetway, her hands shaking. Behind her, she heard Nicole mutter, Unbelievable. Pull the race card and suddenly you're the victim. Claire stopped walking, turned around. Patricia was already speaking. Ms. Winters, I heard that. You're now denied boarding on this flight. Please step away from the gate. You can't do that. I absolutely can. You've been disruptive, you've damaged passenger property, and you just made a discriminatory remark in earshot of multiple witnesses. You're not flying on this aircraft. I want to speak to your manager. I am the manager, and my decision is final. What happened next wasn't loud, but it was decisive. Claire boarded the plane in a daze. First class, Seat 3A. She'd never sat in first class before. The seats were wide leather with actual legroom. The flight attendant offered her water, a hot towel, a menu. Claire accepted the water and sat very still, trying not to cry. Her phone buzzed. Her mother, flight still on time. Claire texted back, boarding now. Had some trouble, but I'm on the plane. Will call when I land. She didn't explain, didn't have the energy. The flight attendant, a kind-faced woman in her 40s, stopped by her seat. Ms. Dawson, I'm Jennifer. I was briefed about what happened at the gate. I'm so sorry you experienced that. If you need anything at all during the flight, please let me know. Thank you. And just so you're aware, the passenger who caused the incident has been removed from this flight. Claire nodded, not trusting herself to speak. Jennifer squeezed her shoulder gently and moved on. The plane filled. Passengers streamed past, stowing bags, settling into seats. Claire stared out the window, thinking about her father. How he'd taught her to stay calm under pressure, to document everything, to speak clearly and factually when someone tried to make you look unreasonable. She'd done all that today. And it had worked. But she was also exhausted. The plane pushed back from the gate. The captain's voice came over the intercom. Good evening, folks. This is Captain Morrison. We've got a slight delay. Air traffic control has us on a brief hold. Should be airborne in about 15 minutes. Sit tight. Claire checked her watch. If they left in 15 minutes, she'd still make it to Tulsa by 8:30. Still make it to her father. But 15 minutes passed. Then 20. Then 30. The captain's voice again. Folks, apologies for the continued delay. We're working through some administrative issues. We appreciate your patience. Administrative issues. Claire felt a knot form in her stomach. This is where the tone changed. At 45 minutes, passengers were getting restless. People were checking phones, calling out to flight attendants, asking what was happening. Jennifer appeared at Claire's seat again. "Ms. Dawson, the captain would like to speak with you. Would you mind coming to the cockpit?" Claire's stomach dropped. "Am I in trouble?" "No, no, nothing like that. He just needs to speak with you about the earlier incident." Claire unbuckled and followed Jennifer to the front. The cockpit door was open. Captain Morrison, a black man in his 50s with graying temples, gestured her in. "Ms. Dawson, I'm Captain Morrison. I apologize for pulling you up here. I know you've had a difficult day." "It's fine. Is something wrong?" "We've been contacted by airport security. The passenger who was denied boarding, Nicole Winters, filed a complaint alleging assault." Claire's vision went white for a second. "What?" "She's claiming you physically pushed her, and that the gate supervisor conspired to cover it up." "That's a complete lie." "I believe you, but airport security is requiring us to delay departure until they can take statements from witnesses." "But I need to get to Tulsa, my father." "I know, and I want to get you there, but legally we can't take off until this is cleared." Claire felt tears sting her eyes. "How long will this take?" "I don't know. I'm pushing them to expedite, but I wanted you to know what's happening." "Can I give a statement now? Get this resolved?" "You can. There's an officer coming to the aircraft. In the meantime, I've also been informed that we have 2 passengers who witnessed the incident and have volunteered statements. That should help." Claire thought of the older man, the woman with the baby. "They're still here." "They are, and they're telling security exactly what they saw." Jennifer touched Claire's arm gently. "Why don't you come sit in the galley with me while we wait? I'll get you some coffee." Claire followed her numb. She pulled out her phone and called her mother. "Mom, there's been a delay. I don't know when I'll get there." "What kind of delay?" Claire couldn't explain it all. "Not here, not now. Just administrative stuff. Tell Dad I'm coming. Tell him I'm on my way." "He's stable, sweetheart. He's resting. You don't need to." "I need to be there, Mom." I know you do." After they hung up, Claire sat in the galley and watched Jennifer prepare drinks for passengers. "Can I ask you something?" Jennifer said quietly. "Sure." "What actually happened at the gate?" Claire told her the whole story. Jennifer's expression hardened. "That woman tore your boarding pass on purpose." "Yes." "And then tried to play it off as an accident." "Yes." "And now she's accusing you of assault." "Apparently." Jennifer shook her head. "I've been flying for 18 years. I've seen this exact pattern before. Entitled passenger gets called out for bad behavior, then flips the script to make themselves the victim." "Does it work?" "Sometimes, but not when there are witnesses, and not when the crew backs the actual victim." "Thank you for believing me." "Honey, I don't just believe you. I'm going to make sure this is documented properly." What she didn't realize yet was how public this was about to become. 20 minutes later, an airport police officer boarded the plane. He was young, white, looked fresh out of the academy. His name tag read Officer J. Parker. Jennifer escorted him to the galley where Claire was waiting. "Ms. Dawson, I'm Officer Parker. I need to take your statement about the incident at the gate." "Of course." He pulled out a tablet. "Can you walk me through what happened?" Claire did, calmly, clearly, the same way she'd trained herself to report compliance violations at work. Facts, timeline, witnesses. No emotion, no speculation. Just what happened. Officer Parker took notes, and you never made physical contact with Ms. Winters. No. She's alleging you pushed her when she tried to return your boarding pass. That's false. Multiple people were watching. Ask them. I already have. Both witnesses confirm your version of events. So why are we still delayed? Parker looked uncomfortable. Ms. Winters is insisting her account is accurate. She's threatening legal action against the airline if we don't take her allegations seriously. So you're taking her seriously by grounding a plane full of people. We're following protocol, ma'am. Claire felt her control slipping. Officer, my father is in ICU. I need to get to him. Can we please resolve this? I understand, but I need to complete the investigation. Captain Morrison appeared. Officer, how much longer? I need to review the security footage from the gate area. How long will that take? Could be an hour, could be more. An hour? Claire closed her eyes. Jennifer spoke up. Officer, is there any way to expedite this? We have passengers on this plane who have connections. Medical situations. I understand, but I can't rush an investigation. Captain Morrison's expression was grim. Officer, with all due respect, you have two witness statements that corroborate Ms. Dawson's account. You have Gates Supervisor Patricia Chen's report, and you have no evidence supporting Ms. Winters' allegations. What else do you need? I need to review the footage. Then review it and let us know. But I can't keep this plane on the ground indefinitely. Parker nodded and left the aircraft. Captain Morrison turned to Claire. I'm sorry. It's not your fault. I'm going to make an announcement. Passengers deserve to know why we're delayed. He returned to the cockpit. A minute later, his voice came over the PA. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Morrison. I want to update you on our delay. We're being held by airport security due to a false complaint filed against one of our passengers. We're working to resolve this as quickly as possible, but I need you to know, the passenger being accused did nothing wrong. We have witnesses and documentation to prove that. We're simply waiting for airport security to complete their review. Thank you for your patience. The cabin erupted in noise. Passengers were talking, asking questions, looking around. Claire heard someone say, "Who's the passenger?" Someone else, "What kind of false complaint?" Jennifer appeared at Claire's seat. Captain Morrison wanted you to know, he's not letting you take the blame for this delay. He's making sure everyone knows the truth. Claire felt tears slide down her face. Thank you. Don't thank me, thank him. He's a good man. The next decision would change how this ended. 40 minutes later, Officer Parker returned to the aircraft. This time he had his supervisor with him, a black woman in her 40s with sergeant stripes. Her name tag read SGT, Monica Harris. They came directly to Claire. Ms. Dawson, SGT, Harris said, I've reviewed the security footage from the gate. Ms. Winters' allegations are completely unfounded. You never made physical contact with her. In fact, the footage clearly shows her deliberately stepping on your boarding pass and tearing it. Relief flooded through Claire. So I can fly. Yes, and Ms. Winters will be facing charges for filing a false police report. Charges? She made a false allegation that wasted police resources and grounded an aircraft full of people. That's a crime. Officer Parker looked embarrassed. Ms. Dawson, I apologize for the delay. We had to follow protocol. I understand, Claire said quietly. You were doing your job. SGT. Harris handed her a business card. This is my contact information. If you want to pursue charges against Ms. Winters for the destruction of your boarding pass, you can file a report with me directly. I just want to get to my father. I understand, but you have the option. After they left, Captain Morrison made another announcement. Folks, we've been cleared for departure. Security has confirmed that the complaint against our passenger was false. We'll be airborne in just a few minutes. Thank you for your patience, and I apologize for the delay." Scattered applause broke out in the cabin. The plane pushed back. Finally, 2 hours and 18 minutes after they were supposed to leave. Claire looked at her phone. It was 8:47 p.m. Her original arrival time had been 8:30. Now she wouldn't land until nearly 11:00 p.m. 3.5 hours late. She texted her mother, finally taking off, "I'll be there as soon as I can." The response was immediate. "Your father is asking for you, but he's stable. Don't rush. Be safe." Claire closed her eyes as the plane taxied. She thought about Nicole Winters, sitting in the airport facing charges. She thought about the witnesses who'd spoken up when they could have stayed silent. She thought about Patricia Chen and Captain Morrison and Jennifer, all of whom had believed her. She thought about how easily it could have gone differently. If there had been no witnesses. If the supervisor had believed Nicole instead. If the captain had decided it was easier to remove her from the flight than to fight for the truth. She thought about how many times that probably happened. How many people got removed, got blamed, got silenced. Because they didn't have witnesses, didn't have allies, didn't have someone willing to believe them. This is where things shifted. The flight landed in Tulsa at 10:52 p.m. Claire was off the plane before most passengers had even unbuckled. Jennifer stopped her at the door. "Ms. Dawson, I hope your father is okay. Thank you for everything. You didn't deserve what happened today, but you handled it with incredible grace." Claire hugged her quickly and ran up the jetway. She'd texted her sister from the plane. Kim was waiting at arrivals to drive her to the hospital. Claire found her in the cell phone lot, engine running. "How is he?" Claire asked as she threw her bag in the back seat. "Stable, awake, asking for you." Kim pulled into traffic. "What the hell happened on your flight? Mom said there was a delay." Claire explained the whole story. By the time she finished, they were pulling into the hospital parking lot. Kim stared at her. "That woman tried to get you arrested." "Yeah. For something she did." "Yeah. I hope they throw the book at her. I just want to see Dad." They parked and hurried inside. Their mother was in the ICU waiting room, looking exhausted but relieved. "He's awake. They'll let you in for 15 minutes." Claire washed her hands, put on the visitor badge, and followed a nurse to her father's room. He was in bed, oxygen tubes in his nose, monitors beeping steadily. But his eyes were open. And when he saw her, he smiled. "There's my girl." Claire burst into tears. She crossed to the bed and took his hand carefully, mindful of the IV lines. "I'm here, Daddy, I'm here. I knew you'd come." "Of course I came. Your mother said you had trouble on the plane." "It doesn't matter, I'm here now." He squeezed her hand weakly. "What kind of trouble?" Claire hesitated, then she told him, a shorter version but the truth. When she finished, her father was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "You handled it right. I was so scared. But you stayed calm, you got witnesses, you documented, you didn't let them make you the villain. It delayed me by 3 hours. But you're here, and you're okay, and that woman is facing consequences for what she did. I didn't want to press charges. You don't have to, the system is handling it. That's how it should work." Claire wiped her eyes. "I love you, Dad." "I love you too, baby. Now go get some rest. I'll be here in the morning." But that wasn't the moment that mattered most. Claire slept at her mother's house that night. In the morning, her phone was full of notifications. Voicemails from the airline. Emails from airport security. And strangely, a Facebook friend request from someone named Marcus Chen. She ignored most of it and went back to the hospital. Her father was doing better. The doctors were cautiously optimistic. Kim brought breakfast. Their mother sat vigil, Claire read to her father from the newspaper. Around noon, her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Ms. Dawson, this is Patricia Chen from the Airline. We spoke yesterday at the gate. Yes, I remember. I wanted to follow up on yesterday's incident. First, I want to apologize again for the delay and the distress this caused you. Thank you. Second, I want you to know that we've completed our internal review. Ms. Winters has been banned from flying with our airline. Banned? Permanently. She destroyed your property, filed a false police report, and made discriminatory remarks. We don't tolerate that behavior from passengers. Claire didn't know what to say. Additionally, Patricia continued, we'd like to offer you compensation. 20,000 frequent flyer miles, a $500 travel voucher, and a full refund of your ticket. That's very generous. It's the least we can do. And Ms. Dawson, I want you to know what you experienced yesterday was unacceptable. You handled it with incredible composure, but you shouldn't have had to. Thank you for saying that. I mean it, and I've made sure this incident is being used in our employee training. We're going to do better. After they hung up, Claire sat quietly. 20,000 miles, $500 a refund. It wasn't about the money. It was about being believed, about having her truth validated, about not being made to feel like she'd imagined or exaggerated what happened. Kim noticed her expression. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong, the airline called, they're compensating me, and they banned the woman who did it. Good. She deserved it. I know, I didn't expect them to actually do anything. Why not? Because usually they don't. What happened next wasn't loud, but it was decisive. 3 days later, the story went public. Not because Claire shared it, she hadn't, but because one of the passengers on the flight had posted about it on social media. The older man who'd been a witness. His name was Robert Chen, no relation to Patricia. He'd posted on LinkedIn. Yesterday I witnessed something that restored my faith in doing the right thing. A fellow passenger had her boarding pass deliberately destroyed by an entitled woman who then tried to claim assault when she was held accountable. The victim, a black woman traveling to see her dying father, handled the situation with extraordinary grace. But here's what mattered. The gate supervisor believed her. The captain believed her. The witnesses spoke up. And the system, for once, worked. We can't always prevent bad actors, but we can choose to support the people they target. The post went viral. 50,000 shares in 2 days. News outlets picked it up. Passenger removed from flight after destroying black woman's ticket. False assault claim delays flight for 2 hours. Witnesses prevent airline injustice. Claire's phone started ringing with media requests. She ignored all of them. But her sister didn't. Mom, you should tell your story. People need to hear this. I don't want attention. I just want Dad to get better. And he will. But this matters, Claire. How many times have you seen stories where the black passenger gets removed and no one speaks up for them? This time people did. That's important. Claire thought about it. She thought about all the times she'd read stories of passengers being removed for suspicious behavior or disruption that turned out to be nothing. She thought about how often those passengers looked like her. And she thought about what her father had said. You handled it right. One interview, she said, local news, that's it. The interview aired on Tulsa's evening news 2 days later. Claire sat in her mother's living room, dressed simply, speaking calmly. The reporter asked what happened. Claire explained. And how did you feel when your boarding pass was destroyed? Shocked and then frustrated. I had printed it specifically because my phone was dying and I didn't want any problems. And then someone created a problem deliberately. Do you think race played a role? Claire was quiet for a moment. I can't know what was in that woman's head, but I can tell you that she felt comfortable destroying my property and then confident enough to lie about it when she was caught. And I can tell you that the comment she made about me playing the race card suggests she saw the situation through a racial lens. What do you want people to take from this story? I want people to speak up when they see something wrong. The witnesses in this situation didn't have to say anything. They could have stayed silent, but they chose to support me. That mattered more than I can express. And what about the airline's response? They believed me. They investigated. They held the person who did wrong accountable. That's all I asked for. The interview ended with Claire thanking the witnesses and the airline staff who'd supported her. It was quiet, dignified, factual. And it resonated. The story was picked up nationally. Good Morning America featured it in their Everyday Heroes segment, highlighting the witnesses who'd spoken up. The airline's CEO released a statement praising their staff for handling the situation properly and reiterating their commitment to passenger safety and dignity. And Claire received hundreds of messages from people who'd experienced similar situations. This happened to me and no one believed me. Thank you for telling your story. I've been too scared to speak up when I see something like this. Your story inspired me to do better. I'm a flight attendant. We're using your case in our training now. Thank you. Claire read every message. And she realized something. Her father had been right. This wasn't just about her. It was about everyone who'd been dismissed, disbelieved, or blamed for advocating for themselves. This is where the tone changed. 4 weeks after the incident, Claire received a call from SGT, Monica Harris. Ms. Dawson, I wanted to update you on the case. Nicole Winters has been charged with filing a false police report and destruction of property. What does that mean? She'll face a fine and possibly community service if convicted. It's a misdemeanor, but it goes on her record. And the ban from the airline. That's separate. The airline's decision stands regardless of the criminal case. Has she said anything, apologized? No, in fact, she's claiming she's the real victim, says she's being persecuted for standing up for herself. Claire felt a familiar frustration. Of course she is. Ms. Dawson, I want you to know, we take false reports very seriously. What she did wasted police resources, delayed a flight full of people, and tried to criminalize you for something you didn't do. That's not acceptable. Thank you for believing me. I believe the evidence, and I believe the witnesses. That's my job. After they hung up, Claire thought about Nicole Winters. She didn't feel satisfaction about the charges, didn't feel vindicated. She just felt tired. Tired of having to prove herself, tired of being doubted, tired of the assumption that she must be exaggerating or lying. Tired of knowing this would happen again, to someone else, in some other airport or store or workplace. But she also felt something else, hope. Because this time, the truth had mattered. The witnesses had mattered. The system, imperfect as it was, had worked. And maybe that was something. Claire stayed in Tulsa for 3 weeks while her father recovered. He progressed from ICU to a regular room, then to rehab, then finally home. His speech was affected, the stroke had done some damage, but he was alive. He was himself. One afternoon, sitting on her parents' back porch, he said, "I'm proud of you." For what? For how you handled that situation at the airport. I didn't do anything special. You did, you stayed calm. You spoke the truth. You let the system work instead of trying to fight it yourself. I wanted to fight it. I know, but you didn't. That takes strength. Claire was quiet. When I was your age, her father continued, I couldn't have done that. I would have been too angry, would have said something I regretted, would have given them a reason to remove me. You taught me better. I taught you what I learned the hard way. and I'm glad it helped. Do you think things are getting better, or are we just documenting the same problems over and over? Her father thought about that. Both, maybe. Things are better than they were when I was young, but they're not good enough, and the documentation matters because it creates accountability. What if nothing changes? Then you keep documenting, keep speaking up, keep being the kind of person who makes it a little bit better for the next person. Claire leaned her head on his shoulder. I love you, Dad. I love you too, baby. 6 weeks after the incident, Claire flew home to Dallas. Different airline, different route. But when she got to the airport, she found herself tense, watching other passengers, guarding her boarding pass, waiting for something to go wrong. At the gate, a woman accidentally bumped her as they were lining up. Claire flinched. "Oh, I'm so sorry," the woman said, looking genuinely apologetic. "It's fine," Claire managed. The woman smiled and moved on. Claire took a breath. Not everyone was Nicole Winters. Most people were just trying to get where they were going, same as her. She boarded without incident. Found her seat, economy this time, but that was fine. Stowed her bag. Buckled in. The flight was smooth, uneventful, exactly what a flight should be. When they landed in Dallas, Claire gathered her things and deplaned with everyone else. In the terminal, she stopped and looked around. This was where it had happened. Not this exact gate, but this airport. The place where she'd been targeted, delayed, accused. But also the place where witnesses had spoken up, where a supervisor had believed her, where a captain had defended her. Both things were true. And she had to hold both truths at once. 3 months after the incident, Claire received a letter in the mail. From the airline. Inside was a formal apology letter signed by the CEO, along with a lifetime gold status membership, complimentary upgrades, free checked bags, priority boarding, and a handwritten note from Patricia Chen. Ms. Dawson, I wanted you to know that your case has been used in our training materials. We're teaching our staff about implicit bias, about believing passengers, and about the importance of witness statements. I can't undo what happened to you, but I can make sure we learn from it. Thank you for your grace and your willingness to share your story. Patricia. Claire put the letter in a folder with all the other documentation from that day. The torn boarding pass, she'd kept the pieces. The police report. The news clippings. The messages from strangers. She wasn't sure why she was keeping it all. Maybe as proof, maybe as a reminder. Maybe because someday, someone would need to know that this happened. And that she'd survived it. And that the system, for once, had worked. 6 months after the incident, Claire was scrolling through Twitter when she saw a familiar story. A black man removed from a flight for suspicious behavior. Passengers saying he'd done nothing wrong. Airlines saying they were investigating. The same pattern. Claire clicked through to the thread, reading the updates. The man had been flying to his grandmother's funeral. He'd been praying quietly in his seat. Someone had reported him as acting strange. He'd been removed, questioned, and missed the flight. Claire felt her chest tighten. She didn't know this man, had never met him. But she knew exactly what he was feeling. The humiliation, the helplessness, the rage of being treated like a threat for existing. She screenshot the thread and sent it to Patricia Chen with a message. This is why the training matters. This is why we can't stop pushing for change. Patricia replied within an hour. I saw this story. I've already reached out to their customer relations team to offer our training materials. We can't fix every airline, but we can try. Claire appreciated that. But she also knew it wasn't enough. It would never be enough until the pattern stopped. Until black passengers could fly without fear of being questioned, removed, or accused. Until suspicious behavior stopped being code for doesn't look like me. Until witnesses spoke up every time, not just sometimes. Until the system believed victims first, instead of making them prove their innocence. That was the world she wanted. The world her father had fought for. The world she'd keep fighting for. One flight at a time. A year after the incident, Claire was invited to speak at a conference on airline passenger rights. She almost said no. But she thought about all the messages she'd received, all the people who'd told her their stories, all the ones who'd been dismissed and had no witnesses, no documentation, no recourse. So she said yes. She stood in front of 200 people, airline executives, passenger advocates, civil rights attorneys, and told her story. Not for sympathy, not for attention. As evidence. This is what bias looks like in real time, she said. Someone destroyed my property deliberately, and when she was caught, she tried to make me the criminal. If there had been no witnesses, I would have been the one removed from that flight. If the gate supervisor had believed her instead of me, I would have been the one facing charges. This isn't about one bad passenger. It's about a system that too often assumes the worst about people who look like me. She showed the data. How many passengers of color were removed from flights compared to white passengers? How many were questioned, searched, reported for suspicious behavior? The numbers were stark. We need better training, she said, better protocols, better accountability, and we need to believe people when they tell us what they've experienced. After the speech, a young black woman approached her. Thank you for sharing that. I'm a flight attendant and I see this happen all the time. I've been too afraid to speak up. Why afraid? Because I'm worried about losing my job, about being labeled a troublemaker. I understand that fear, but I also know that nothing changes if we stay silent. What if I speak up and nothing happens? Then you speak up again, and again, until someone listens, until enough people speak up that the pattern can't be ignored. The woman nodded, eyes bright. Okay, I'll try. Don't try, Claire said gently. Decide, that's what matters. Claire Dawson's boarding pass was torn by a woman who wanted to punish her for existing in a space she thought Claire didn't belong in. And for 2 hours and 18 minutes, that woman almost got away with it. Almost convinced police she was the victim. Almost made Claire miss her dying father's bedside. Almost turned a moment of cruelty into a criminal charge. But she didn't. Because witnesses spoke up. Because a gate supervisor believed the evidence. Because a captain refused to let an innocent passenger be blamed. Because a police sergeant reviewed the footage and saw the truth. The system worked, not perfectly, not quickly, but eventually. And that mattered. Not because it erased what happened, but because it proved something Claire had to keep believing, that truth still had weight. That documentation still mattered. That witnesses could change outcomes. That accountability was possible. A year later, Nicole Winters was convicted of filing a false report and banned from every major airline. A year later, Patricia Chen's training program had been adopted by 4 other airlines. A year later, Claire's father was walking with a cane, speaking slowly but clearly, still teaching his daughter about dignity and resilience. And a year later, Claire flew without incident dozens of times, though she still kept her boarding pass in her hand until she was safely on the plane. Some fears don't disappear, they just get managed. But Claire also kept a folder of letters from people who'd told her, your story mattered. Your testimony helped me speak up. Your example gave me courage. And that folder kept growing. Because Claire Dawson didn't raise her voice that day at the gate. She didn't fight or shout or give anyone ammunition to call her aggressive. She just stood her ground, spoke the truth, accepted help when it was offered, and trusted, even when it was hard, that the truth would matter. It didn't always, but that day it did. And that was enough to keep believing it could again. She didn't raise her voice, but she changed how 100,000 passengers would be treated after her. That's not revenge. That's legacy. Quiet, patient, persistent. The kind that doesn't need applause. Because the work speaks for itself. You don't need to be powerful to demand dignity. You don't need to be perfect to deserve justice. You just need to stay calm, document what happened, accept help when it comes. And trust that truth, even when it's doubted, still has weight. Not every time, not perfectly. But enough to matter. Enough to fight for. Enough to pass on to the next person who needs to believe the system might work for them too. That's hope. Not loud, not certain. Just steady enough to keep going.